and we played that yesterday. We're now joined by Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, on 365 Sports with Craig and David Smoak. I'm not being flippant here, but how difficult have the last couple of days been for you?
No, I appreciate the question, and I want to be really transparent and candid. They haven't been a lot of fun, I'll tell you that. But hasn't been the end of the world either. I think that the loss Saturday night was certainly, at best disappointing. I think Smoak, you used the word unacceptable in the press conference, and I wouldn't disagree with that one bit. That makes for a very difficult Saturday night, Sunday, even going into a Monday. But I think the other side of it is, you've been doing this long enough, and I've been doing it for a while. This isn't the first difficult loss in terms of expectations and all of that, and as you begin a season, and so you try to focus, and I think we've been focused on how do you react. When something like that happens, you got to look at it straight in the eyes, right in the face, and deal with it head on. And so, that's how, I think my energy and Coach Aranda's energy is best utilized is, how do you react, right? You certainly have a chance to process, and, I could, I'm okay with saying I was pretty dang angry after the game. And, but you're not going to make, probably good decisions when you're emotional and when you're angry. And so, how do you get through that? And then again, make decisions that are constructive, that are positive, and that are supportive, moving forward. What's that old saying that you hate losing more than you love winning, and that probably best describes me. And so yeah, not a lot of fun. Didn't like it. Would much rather be in a different place, but this is where we're at, and we've got to find the best pathway forward. And I think Coach Aranda, he's certainly measured with his emotions, but I can tell you, equally disappointed, angry, unacceptable, all of those things.
Mack, I know we're not going to diagnose the game by any means, and you have to be measured as well. But maybe what was the most surprising, disappointing thing that you felt in watching that unfold on Saturday night?
Yeah, Coach and I had spent a little bit of talking, time talking, afterwards, and I think for me, and again, it's not like. I'm a football coach. It's not like, I had watched any tape, but I just felt like we didn't execute and like I thought I would, or like I've seen us execute in practice. And then, just maybe some lack of juice, some lack of energy. And, I've been to enough practices this fall camp where, what you saw in practice in terms of, the competitiveness, how hard we fight, how hard we go in practice, the level of execution, you just, opposite of what we saw Saturday night. So, gotta get it corrected. And, one of the great qualities of Coach Aranda is he's got great instincts. He's got as good as instincts as I've ever been around, and he just needs to trust those. And again, whatever his gut is telling him in terms of tweaking or changing, he'll do that. And so, but that, to answer your question, Craig, that's probably what surprised me most.
There are 3 notches on a heating pad. Usually there's like, you turn it on and there's like a light and then it gets like orange and then it gets red. Is there a heating pad on the football program? You guys could probably answer that better than I could in terms of the external, right? I'm focused on, what we're doing internally and our processes and accountability and all of those things. And so, I would say that, there's some discomfort because, that did not live up to expectations. And I think anytime you don't live up to expectations, there's discomfort. And, I think that discomfort is from within. It's not externally, applied at all. Again, not focused there. It's internally, applied. And, I think Coach Aranda, puts it on himself, puts it on his coaching staff, puts it on our student athletes. So, again, I think there's some discomfort.
Mack, I know there's always pressure to win. I mean, that's what it all boils down to. And Coach Aranda even said that on Monday, like in the one-on-one conversation of like, I know it's all about winning, but given the landscape, is there more of a pressure than ever before, especially when you see, similar schools, whether it's a TCU going to the playoff or it's SMU joining the ACC or just all the different things that are going on, the NIL rat race? Is there more amplified pressure, especially of being worried about, kind of flatlining and losing your spot, so to speak? Or is that just something that us on the outside, think is actually going on?
Yeah, Craig, it's a great question. Where we are in terms of college athletics, I do think there's less patience, in terms of winning. And so, do I personally feel more pressure? To be honest with you, I try to stay away from that stuff. I try to just, focus on what's going to make us better, what's going to make us great, right? And if that's where you're spending your energy, the rest takes care of it itself. Is there pressure for Baylor football to have a winning season? Yeah, absolutely. Life's much better if we're having a winning football season. Life's much better for this institution, for the university, for our alums, for donations, for enrollments, for sponsorship, for ticket sales. You can go on and on. And so, do we need to win? Yeah, absolutely. We need to win. And, again, Saturday wasn't a great start to this season, but it's one game, and how do we react, right? How do we react? Whether it's Saturday at 11 a.m. or the following weekend versus a Long Island, or the following weekend versus a University of Texas. We still have the opportunity in front of us to have a great season, but it's going to be about how we react, and that certainly began that Saturday right after we walked off the field.
Mack, you mentioned donors, et cetera, and there are certain schools that you hear about. It can be almost like very uncomfortable, even if you're winning. Maybe Auburn, maybe at times even Texas, and there's some schools where that involvement is very, it's constant. Did you have any kind of conversations? Did anyone from administration or anyone from the donor base contact you and demand something?
Absolutely not. Look, I've got complete confidence in Coach Aranda, and it's my job when it's going well, and it's my job when it's difficult to find the best way that I can support him, his staff, our student athletes, so that we can be successful. But no phone calls from anyone. Again, I think there's this line of you can way overreact, which isn't good, right? And so you've got a Dutch oven, and you can turn up the heat way too much, and what's in the oven burns, right? And then you can way underreact as well, and so you underreact, or you put the Dutch oven on too low of heat, then the food just spoils and nothing changes. And so I think finding that right medium in terms of how you react, and focus on the things that you can control. What's priority? What needs to be tweaked? What needs to be changed? Right? And go at it, and put all your effort there, and move forward. And so I think that's what we've done this week.
It's one thing because of the frustration or whatever the word used with Texas State, but now there's a program that's lost 5 in a row, and there's a lot of money that you put into football because football pays for basically everything else, along with Scott Drew and men's basketball. Is that something you saw happening?
Say that again. I'm not sure what. I'm not sure.
It's one thing.
What you asked
about. It's one thing for people to be angry and want to say things right now because it's Texas State and it's a school that Baylor should not lose to, despite all due respect to G.J. Kinney, and I've known him since he's a high school player. But it's also a 5-game winning streak for the program that feeds everything you have in athletics other than men's basketball, and even then. Is that something you actually ever saw happening?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that, we predicted, 5 games ago that we were going to go on a 5-game, negative streak. There was, certainly, no internal indications. And, I think despite all of the stuff that I've been involved with conference wise, I've been pretty in tune in terms of football, and you look at recruiting classes, and we've stayed pretty consistent, in terms of rankings. And I'm not a big rankings person, but they give you a general idea. The accountability piece. I think Dave has certainly spoke to that, and I think there's been strides, positive movement forward. I love the three coaches that we've brought in, that are here with us, two of them the first time, and then Matt College returning. And so, you look at, the strength and conditioning component, the nutrition component, all of those things. And we certainly sat down at the end of the year, Coach Aranda and I, and Jovan, and talked about all of those things and what needs to get better, what can we improve upon. And so, I don't know that, there were any signs or indications, or that you could predict that, we'd have this 5-game stretch. And, but it's where we're at. And, we've dug ourselves a hole, and we've got to fight and scratch our way, climb out of it, period. And that's what we're going to do.
Yesterday when I was talking to Dave Aranda about maybe they misjudged the talent or the recruiting or whatever, he discussed this, obviously the culture, the fit. You hear that a lot, and you hear that a lot with what Dave Aranda has said, and even you've mentioned it as well. But it sounded to me, and I actually I hated to, but I said, but you got to win. Is it harder to recruit players, or is it set up as a disadvantage for Baylor on the players you need to recruit to play football here?
Yeah, probably, yes and no. I think take Baylor out of it, right? And whatever admissions processes, policies, things that you go through here, right? I think we still, there is a type of young person that we're going to recruit, right? We're going to, try to recruit somebody that, has a good heart, somebody that has, great work ethic, somebody that, we know that, will come here and want to get better and really take that serious, that has, great upside. Somebody, that understands that it's not just about themselves, but it's about, also being part of a team and a great teammate. And, certainly, we're not sitting here, trying to recruit this perfect person. We all know, right, that doesn't exist. And so I think there is a certain type, of young person we're trying to recruit that has these specific and particular, attributes. And, Dave could go into it even deeper than what I'm going into it. And then you have just, some university processes and things that we, need to go through and have to go through. And some of it is, quite frankly, because of what we went through, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 9 years ago. And so, I don't think that, any of the processes and those things are excuses for not recruiting, at a high caliber. And we've talked about it before, Baylor's not for every student athlete. And so, I think, I think we've got really good talent on this team. And it was good talent that certainly didn't play well on Saturday. And, it's Coach Aranda's responsibility and our staff to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Mac, there's a player that was supposed to be a part of the roster, Johnny Carter from Utah State. Carter from Utah State, who's a pretty good player, but he put out a note, I guess it was over the weekend, that he would not be attending Baylor. And I understand that there are transfer and credits, and I don't know what it's like compared to when I went to school because that was so long ago. Is there any kind of hold up when it comes to transcripts and credits or what transfers from an athlete from another school to Baylor? And should that not be something that has to take so long, or is that like an NCAA issue?
Yeah, without going too deep into that, we had some challenges with the transfer admittance process, with the Johnny and this particular circumstance, and I think there was some nuance to it, and it's stuff that we talk about, and it's stuff that I've talked about, and there's some tweaks I believe that we need to work on as an institution, when we think about just the whole new world of transfers, particularly obviously because of the transfer portal and the countable hours, and you have to have a certain amount of hours to be awarded an undergraduate degree from Baylor. And so those are all things that didn't hit us by surprise. Those are all things that we're having conversations about.
All right, my last question, Mark Harlan, you know him well. You probably spent a lot of hours on the phone with him that week of the Pac-12 and the three new schools. He's now a part of the College Football Playoff Committee. How much did you get to know him that week when Utah was on the fence?
Yeah, I mean, I've known Mark since I was, the athletic director at the University of Houston, and he was the athletic director at South Florida. So, our relationship goes back, years and years ago. And so, I would describe our relationship as a true friendship. And, obviously, we stayed close and were close throughout the whole conference, discussions and conversations. And, I'll look forward to, in fact, I was on the phone with him, earlier today, and we were talking about, football scheduling in the future, not necessarily, Baylor, Utah, but just, as it relates to the Big 12 conference and how do we do this? How do we move forward? But he's a good friend, and I look forward to seeing him on Saturday. So, and look, here's what I want our fan base to know is, I certainly understand their frustration with the loss, and they should be frustrated, and they should expect more. And again, as I said, at the beginning of the broadcast, that loss, and that is you always got to be careful because, I've got great respect for Don Coryell, the athletic director, and Coach Kinney and Texas State University. So, I always want to be mindful of that, but, that loss or maybe not the loss necessarily, maybe the a better way to, in a more respectful way to say it, the way we played in that game was unacceptable, and we got to get better.
Thanks for your time. We'll see you Saturday. Mack Rhoades, Baylor in Utah, 11 o'clock on Saturday at McLean Stadium. Speaking of that,